Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you the previous Kaggle competitions related to natural language processing. Now, I'm not going to write code and approach these problems in this video. I'm just going to talk a little bit about them, how the data looks like, and then the rest is up to you. So I find this very good way to learn natural language processing in an applied manner. So you can just go and learn some theory and then come back to Kaggle, look at these competitions related to NLP and approach them. You can also read what the winners did when they tried these competitions. So some of these competitions are a few years old. At that time, you didn't have many new architectures like transformers or like BERT or any kind of transformer based architecture. So you didn't have those. So you can go and take these approaches and apply on these old problems and see how it's going to perform. If it's going to perform well or not, you can submit to the competition and see your rank on the leaderboard. So let's start with the first competition. I am not going, I don't have any kind of specific order. So I've taken oldest competition first, but there is no specific order. All these competitions that I'm going to discuss are truly awesome and great to learn about natural language processing. So the first competition that we are going to discuss today is predict closed questions on Stack Overflow. So when you look at the title, you know what to do. If you don't, you look at the data. But the problem is you cannot look at the data of this competition, or maybe you can. Maybe, yeah, you can. So there is this train.csv file. It has a lot of different items in here, a lot of features, but then you see it has a title, it has body text and some tags and blah, blah, blah. And it also has a few more columns. So let me just select all of them. And then, okay, it didn't select. Okay, I have to click on apply. Okay, and let's apply. And then you see like there is a date on which the post was closed. So if the date is missing, the post was not closed. But if there is a date, then the post was closed, and then you have the reason for closing the post. So this is a very good NLP problem, I would say. I mean, there are many other different techniques that you can apply here, but NLP is going to be one of them. So you have the text of the title, you have the text of the body, and you have different tags, and depending on them, you can try to predict if a question will be closed. So if the question is not constructive, the question doesn't have a lot of information, and those kind of things you can only get by looking at the title and looking at the body of the text. And then there are other features in this competition, but today we are only going to limit ourselves to natural language processing and text data. So this is one of the competitions, predict closed questions on Stack Overflow. So just go look at it and give it a try. And this was 8 years ago. Then we have one of my favorite competitions was StumbleUpon Evergreen Classification Challenge. So this is my first, I would say, natural language processing competition. It's a very good competition. You get to learn a lot of new things in this competition. So the whole idea here is you have been given web pages from StumbleUpon, which was a site at that time, and there are a lot of web pages. And what you have to do is you have to categorize if the web pages are going to be evergreen or not. So if the content is going to be evergreen or not. And if you look at the data of this competition, let me just click on data. And sometimes it takes time on Kaggle these days. I don't know why, but it feels like old competition, it takes time. So you have the data of the competition, and in this data set you have some URL, you have some boilerplate text, some categories from Alchemy API, and some other data. You have all these things, and this is a lot of features. And then in the end you have a label, either evergreen or non evergreen. But you also have this raw content, And that's something that you should play around with, specifically if you want to learn natural language processing. So raw content is the HTML files. And in this competition, you will learn how to clean HTML, how to apply simple methods. So you should always start with simple methods. It goes on for all NLP competitions that I'm showing today. You should start with simple methods and then dive much deeper. So you go to raw content, download the raw content, and then you can learn how to clean HTML text, how to extract text from HTML, how to extract different tags, and all these kind of things. So you will learn a lot about pre-processing natural language data. And yeah, this has been one of my favorite competitions. So I'm my first NLP competition. Then another competition is CrowdFlower search results relevance. So you have to predict the relevance of search results from e-commerce websites. Let's see if we can take a look at the data here. Okay, so data is in zip files, but we do have some stuff here. So we just try to understand about the data from the description. So what you have to do here is you have to categorize, given a query and a result, you have to categorize the relevance in 4 different categories. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you also have product images. So you are given a query, and given the query and the result, you have to say how relevant the result is to the given query. So this is all you have. I mean, there's a lot of HTML. So they also say, like, to ensure that your algorithm is robust enough to handle any noisy HTML snippets. The data is provided, the data which is provided is raw. So you have the product description and product title, and given that, you have to see if the if it's relevant to the search query. So you have the search query here, and then you have the product description. It can be with HTML, and then you have to find the relevance score between 1 and 4. The same thing that you have in test.csv, but you don't have the relevance information, obviously. That's something you have to predict. So this is also a very good competition for learning natural language processing. So you can, if I'm looking at this competition, maybe I will try something with 2 heads, one for title, one for description. Cleaning is totally up to you, if you want to do it or not, or if you're learning, then I would suggest, yes, you should go for cleaning the HTML first, but not too much. Again, a competition sponsored by StumbleUpon was truly native. So if you, I don't know if the data is available for available as a CSV file. So it's not available as a CSV file, but as zip files. So I cannot view it here, and I'm not going to download the data for this video. So, but it's very simple. The data is very simple. You have a bunch of zip files, and all zip files have HTML content. And you have train.csv, and in which you have the IDs of all the HTML files, and you have 2 categories, sponsored or not sponsored. So if it's 0, then it's organic content. If it's 1, then it's sponsored content. And that's what you have to do. So if you have started from the previous StumbleUpon evergreen classification challenge, and if you have learned a lot of HTML cleaning stuff, that's something that you can just apply here. And also, like from the previous competition, if you have done this one, you can just apply all the same thing here. And that's the beauty. So that's why I say write code in a modular manner that you can reuse. So that's what I do, and you should also do that. Let's move on to the next one. The next one is Home Depot product search relevance. So this is again a competition about relevance. So content relevance, and let's see the data. So again, I think the data is going to be the same. I don't know if I participated in this competition, but it was long ago, 5 years ago, so I don't even remember properly. So the dataset contains a number of products and real customer search terms. So it's from the Home Depot's website. So they have real search terms from customers, and you are given, like, for every search term you are given some kind of result, and you have to assign it from 1 to 3, not relevant to relevant. So you have the products, you have the searches, and you have the relevance score. So for each product you have product descriptions, you have some attributes, and you can combine these different tables together and you have a bunch of data, text data. And your job is now to build a model that given a product and given the search term gives out a relevance score used in search engines. So yeah, this data is also available here. It's a zip format, but you see, like, it's not very huge data set, so you can go around and play with it. Then you have Avito duplicate ads detection. So Avito also organized a few competitions on Kaggle, and if I'm not wrong, some of them were related to text data. So here, I'm not going to download the data again, but this is very easy. So what's happening here is you have two items. You are given two items and you have to predict if they are duplicate of each other. So for each item, you have some item ID, you have category ID, you have title, description, you have images. So, and you have a lot of other attributes. So even the major component here in this competition is text. So title and description. Using that, you can build a very robust model without even using other kinds of data. But maybe you can try to include images at some point. But in this video, we are talking about text. So Avito duplicates ads detection. Very good competition. Quora question pairs, one of my favorite competitions. So in this competition, don't go for the leaderboard because this competition had some magic feature and you don't want to go there. So, but you build what you're building in totally for text data. And in this competition, you have like 2 questions from Quora. If you're not familiar with Quora, it's a platform where you can ask questions and people will respond to those questions. So you're given 2 questions and you're given a target variable, a label, which is duplicate or not. And there are millions of pairs. It's huge data set. And you must definitely try this competition with probably with BERT-like model. So I don't know if people have tried it yet, but you should definitely try that. I was once trying it, but I'm too lazy. So you have these 2 questions. So in the very beginning, when this data set was announced, even before it became a competition on Kaggle, I wrote a article called "Is that a duplicate Quora question?" And it's also available on my GitHub. The code is very old, but it's still quite good. And I was able to reach near state of the art with a simple, not so simple, but like with a single model, with a LSTM based model. So this is also something that you can try. You have 2 questions. So these are 2 heads, 2 inputs to your neural network model maybe. And you can see if they're duplicate or not. But in this competition, I also built a lot of similarity-based features, maybe based on fuzzy string. You can do that. You can create features like what is the length of question 1, what is the length of question 2. You can do feature like subtraction of length, number of common words, these kind of things. And that will also give you a okay score. So it's all about trying from simple ideas and going into more advanced ones. And then another competition, and again Quora data, is Quora insincere questions classification. And in this competition, you have to say which questions are insincere. So insincere, like what kind of tone it has, inflammatory or whatever, some kind of racist stuff or these kind of things will probably become insincere. So you have a lot of training data. You have a lot of training data in this competition. You have a lot of test data. So definitely go. It's a simple classification problem. Not so simple, but it's a classification problem, and it's quite good when you're learning about natural language processing. Toxic comments classification challenge. It's also very similar to insincere stuff, but this is from Jigsaw. So the data comes from Jigsaw, and what you have here is different categories. So like toxic, severe toxic, obscene, threat, insult, or identity hate. These kind of categories. And you have to then say like which of these categories does the given text belong to. So which is the comment? So this comment belongs to this category, or maybe it doesn't belong to any category. So this is also, or it can belong to two different categories at once. So it's a multi-label classification challenge, and that's why it's quite good, something that you should definitely try. Then the same thing that we have from Jigsaw, but put in a multilingual format. So the previous one was only English. So this one, toxic comments classification challenge, only English. But then we have it in many different languages, and that makes it even more interesting. So now this competition came after like BERT and everything became very famous. So you can try applying multilingual BERT or any kind of multilingual model and then see how it performs. And the data is so huge that you will also learn how to train the models on TPUs to make the training faster. TensorFlow, question answering, very good competition. I didn't perform very well in this one. I was just learning about question and answering systems at that time. Data comes directly from the research being done by Google's natural questions. So this is from Google AI research, and it's very good. So you're provided with maybe we can see a sample of data, or maybe not. Let's see if we can see a sample of data. Okay, so you are provided with the document text. So this is your document text, and then you have some question. So let's see. You have question text. Here is the question text, and then you have some annotations. Like, does it have a yes or no answer? If it has a yes no answer, then you have something in yes no answer, but this one doesn't, so you don't have anything. Does it have a long answer? So it does have a long answer, and start token is this one, and end token is this one. So it's a very difficult problem. So you have one question, given a question, and a context. You can have multiple answers, and you can also have yes or no answers. So, and your job is to build a model to extract the answer indices from context from a document given a question. Very good and very interesting and quite difficult problem, but it's not so difficult. Then in the end, you have the tweet sentiment extraction, which is also very similar to TensorFlow question and answering competition. Now in this one, you are given a tweet and you're given a sentiment, and based on these two, you are given some text extracted from the from the tweet itself. So let's say if the tweet is "my good dog is very bad" and sentiment is positive, then the extracted text is good, and if the sentiment is negative, then the extracted text is bad. So given a sentiment and a text, you have to extract tokens from the text. That makes sense. So very interesting problem, and it's related to question and answering system. Instead of the question, you have sentiment, and instead of the context, you have tweet. Everything else remains the same. And very good, very interesting problem, and try to solve it. And I think here you will be using a lot of new advanced techniques like BERT, RoBERT, these kind of models. So this is my list of some of the best NLP competitions on Kaggle. So the next time you're building some NLP projects, please don't do sentiment extraction or sentiment analysis. Rather, if you do one of these, I think these are much better and much useful, and not a lot of people are putting these kind of things and writing about these kind of competitions in some articles or blogs, or putting the source code of these competitions on GitHub. So I think these are much more interesting than doing something like sentiment analysis that has been done, I don't know, a million times before. So this is my today's video. If you like it, do click on the like button, do subscribe, and let me know in comments if you're facing problems with one of these competitions that I've talked about today, and maybe we can discuss something. And see you next time. Goodbye.